Good day, people. Well, where are we at? That is the question I usually ask when I start out. And I guess I should drag my video edit down here. Frankly, I completely redid this shot and then cut in these shots from content that was arrived at earlier. A lot of problems with Krita behaving bizarrely, but that's kind of the ongoing story of using open source animation tools. They all have issues, definitely. So anyway, having said that, here's where we're at. We're at this shot. And what I decided I wanted to do might be disappointing maybe for some people that are like big into Blender, but basically I decided to redo the shot in OpenToonz. This actually looks pretty good. So I reserve the right to change my mind, but at this point, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just redo the shot here. Basically, OpenToonz consistently proves to be the least buggy, the most consistent, and in a sense flexible, you might say, in terms of my personal workflow. Let me go to the camera view here, so I want to make sure I get the spacing here kind of sort of correct. I think this guy needs to be shrunk down just a little. Okay, and so if we're going to do that, then that puts Akari here. So okay, and I'm definitely going to have to adjust her size as well. That's just, I have a chronic proclivity to draw things larger than they really need to be. I'm not sure why, actually. An interesting thing to ponder and or try to figure out. I'm moving these two apart a little bit, mainly so that if I want to separate them into two separate layers, I can do so. And actually, I think Akari needs to be even slightly smaller compared to Zen. Yeah, Zen's a pretty big guy. I wonder where she comes up to here. Yeah, she comes right up to his shoulder line. So there we go. Okay, so he's got this line of dialogue. Boom, boom. Plus, who would have sent such poor excuses for Shinobi? Yeah, so I think that really, this shot, all we're really going to have is probably lip sync, just the lip sync. And okay, so there's the basic breakdown. And now what do? Well, let's zoom way the heck in. And just, I'm not modulating down the size of the brush because the coarseness of the brush makes it easier to know how much detail to actually put into the drawing. Right? So the fact the brush is so large reminds me that we're a long ways away from this guy, and he's very small in the shot. So therefore, we don't need to worry about lots and lots and lots and lots of detail. Alright. So that's not too bad. And we can keep this on the general side also. Yeah, look at on YouTube you can find some videos of really accomplished animators like Glenn Keane doing, I think it was maybe Tarzan or something. And you see how little detail he puts into his drawings. Now there I got a little bit of a problem. I actually want to take this, make it a little bigger. And since this is a pencil test sort of sketch sort of situation, we got lots of room to kind of ballpark it. And okay, so now what I do think here is this needs to be a little bit longer. Yes. Okay. Now, now that I zoom out, as often is the case, I find out that I actually was making this maybe a little too big and bulky. And I'm not totally satisfied with this. I actually think if I'm going to get this correct, his feet have to be down further, and I'm going to have to shrink him. As usual, as I said, I have the proclivity to draw everybody bigger and then have to shrink them down. So, no big tragedy. No big tragedy. Just liberally do some erasing. Boom. Yeah, that's not horrible. Okay, so this here we also have a foot, right? So I think something like that's going to be okay. So let's grab this now. And shrink them down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Zoom in here. Let's see if I can sort of try to get this right the first time. That would be an interesting miracle, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's holding on to her little strap, and the one thing I sort of got wrong here, I think, is that in my sketch I didn't have her facing forward enough, and as usual I am about to make her, well actually maybe I could leave that there, but yeah, I was about to make her head too big. But yeah, this is actually kind of the level of detail we want here. It's very, very broad, coarse. Okay, I think that'll work. And then these guys. Check one thing here. Yeah, okay. Okie dokie. I think that looks pretty good. So maybe it's time to forge ahead. Let's save all, by the way. Save early, save often. And we'll insert a frame here. A drawing, I should say. We'll insert one here as well. Hello. And that's going to be our ink. Now, in the case of our... Well, actually, in the case of all of it, the ink is going to be essentially one single drawing. So I'm going to turn the hardness down to about halfway. And by the way, these guys are not going to be rendered. And for reference purposes now, they need to be turned down. So let's just do that. And now we can address this very important matter of ink. We get some smoothing. That's probably okay. Oh. It's just one of those things, your hands twisted around in the wrong direction. It's hard to draw a straight line. This would probably be easier to get right by just making like this. Just go boom, 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 and then come back in with the eraser and just clean up the nastiness. So one thing I've been finding myself doing lately quite a bit is actually I literally have my left hand on the mouse wheel so that as I'm drawing here I can dynamically be zooming in. You know, I like to be zoomed way in, frankly. I like having the really large drawing space. The risk you run with that is that you lose your sense of context, and so you can tend to draw things, as I mentioned earlier, at the wrong scale or whatever. Now, if you have a good drawing to run from, you know, your reference material, which we do have here, then that should mitigate that problem to a degree. Alright, now I gotta zoom back out and see if I fouled things up at all. No, it looks pretty good. This is another thing that's kind of interesting. Let's save that. Is I've been finding, to my surprise, that consistently the faster I go, the better it turns out. Very, very a bit non-intuitive. So for that reason, and I think it'd probably be more entertaining for you as the YouTube audience as well, is that I'm going to go at a pace that is maybe going to look almost like a speed paint. I assure you, it is not. But yeah, what happens is I'm zoomed in here and I'm just flying, you know. I'm trying to go as quick as I can. And then I zoom out and it's like, holy crap, that looks really good, you know. I know, I'm humming the theme from Smurfs. I don't know, I did that a few weeks ago too. I don't know what the heck it is about that song. But I find myself humming it frighteningly often. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to leave that cracked a little bit. We're going to have to patch up the hair with the paintbrush tool, but maybe we can get a clean clean fill with the flesh tone that'll fill this entire area. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. All right. That looks very, very good. Yep, it's the Smurfs again. Can you believe it? All right. So it's interesting because one of the reasons I started moving faster was because, generally speaking, the ink and paint is the part of the animation process that I enjoy the least. Although, admittedly, as I've found a workflow that's effective, it's become more fun. But my main purpose was to just make it go by faster, you know, just get it over with kind of thing. And what I found is by going really fast, like I said, A, I enjoy the process more, and B, it actually seems to look better consistently. Not sure why. I guess it's just because I'm moving fast, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill that B key. Yep. So okay, her arm seems a little longish right there, so I'm just going to make a slight correction. Little problem right there. That really needs to be more like that, I think. Okay, so that needs to be more like, yeah, not quite happy with that either. You know, it could be that I've actually drawn her hands a little larger than they should be. I'm not quite sure on that one. One thing I do when I'm moving quickly is I tend to use straight lines more, like I'm doing right now, as opposed to a lot of curvy lines, and I think that's one of the reasons it looks better. Now again, here with her hair, I'm going to have to hand paint some of this, but that's okay. So yeah, see, look at that. That looks pretty sharp, honestly. So I was able to recreate this shot with arguably better looking ink, although in this particular case it's probably not too much different. In what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? So it's awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to save early, save often. And let me look. I'm just going to look here and see. It seems to me that I have some palettes stored somewhere that I should be able to drag in here. And it's been a while since. Yep, there it is. Akari and Ninjas.ping. Okay, that's one way to do it. Okay, let's do it that way then. I'm going to load this. Oh, I see what I did. I actually tried to make my job easier by simply... That's funny. What I did was I just took a picture of the palette and saved it as a ping so that now I can sample the colors that I need in the ink and paint stage. So, for example, here I'm on Akari. So I'm going to need her... her hair, her nightie, and her skin. So now I just hit the R key, and where's the skin color? Is that the skin color? That says Ninja Eyes. I think it must be this. Skin. Hair. And I think This is probably... Actually, let's redo that. Okay. Okay, we'll give that a crack. I'll just hide that for the moment. So we want to do the nighty and the skin. Ooh. Okay, so there we ran into our first little issue, which is fine. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll just fall back on the, whoops, that's a little large. Yeah, for most applications it seems to be in the 10 pixel range, seems to be about right. But yeah, sometimes you just have to go in and paint the stuff by hand if you want to get an accurate result. What happens if we hit the F key here? Oh, that's bad. So we've got some leaking, which is not altogether unexpected. So now we can fill it. Ta-da! But as you can see, it still needs a bit of touch up. So now let's go over here and let's just see what we can get away with on him insofar as his flesh is concerned. Yeah, see, with all this zooming in, as you can see, the fill operations have become quite reliable. So that's been nice. Okay, so now one thing we should do now, right while I'm thinking about it, is the ink lines are actually supposed to be like a charcoal gray, not black. So that's important. Okay, so now what have we got missing here? Well, let's go Control C, and then I'm going to need his hair and his costume. Okay, as I recall, his costume was kind of orangish, but let's just look back here. Okay, well, it's tilted more towards yellow than orange, so let's just say something of that nature feels about right. And his hair is actually basically black. It might be slightly charcoal with a slightly blue, whoopsie poo, slight push toward the blue. So let's grab our brush again and grab the hair color. Yeah, so as you can see, it's darn close to the... Okay, I don't like that. That's not good. Let me just make sure we got this blocked up so that maybe I can... Yeah. There you go. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then we will tighten that up with the shadow layer. So now we come back here, and let's just paste these guys back in there. And what we'll do is we'll do this, but then turn this more to orange, which is what it normally would be. This would be the ninja costumes, I suppose, except we don't want the extra blue, and we do want it to be black. The point is that there's a contrast. Here is their skin, so that's fine. I don't think this guy's showing any skin. That can be colored like that, and then what's missing on this palette would be the blue color that represents these fellas' wraps. Okay, and now that's a little too saturated, and arguably a little too bright as well. So, which we can get away with a little bit of that, because remember, the light is actually coming directly towards these guys, and you know, so these guys have the light to the behind them. Okay. So now, since the how do we want to do the shadows? I guess we need to do the shadows the same for each of these. So what I want to do now is time out Zen's line of dialogue. Okay, so he says, plus, who would have sent such poor excuses for Shinobi? Alright? Plus, who would have sent such poor excuses for Shinobi? roughly 4 seconds, which would indicate that this should be 96 frames long. Ish. Can you believe that? 24, is that right? 24, 48, 96, yeah. That'll do her. Okay, so now what I want to know is, plus, who would have sent such poor excuses for Shinobi anyway? Yeah, that is correct. Plus, who sent such poor excuses? Okay, and right here, I'm going to take this, make a duplicate, and then in this drawing, I'm just going to cut this, rotate it a little bit, and let's zoom in. Let's just make a couple other modifications. Like that. Now we'll hit a little erasing. And we'll hit the B key to go ahead and fill that in. A little bit of erasing here to when the bicep extends a little bit, of course it's not going to poof out as much. So now we're going to go fill that. That looks pretty good. So, plus, who would have sent such poor excuses for Shinobi anyway? Okay, not bad, except there's a little bit of a scale issue, isn't there? It's pretty obvious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, move it center here, and not exactly happy with the outside of the arm either, so I'm going to erase that and say, make that a little straighter. Okay, little hand touch up. Okay, so let's just, that's fine. Okay, and so now what we need to deal with is shadows. So for shadows, we're going to insert a level, and we're going to do this the way we normally do shadows, in that column 3. Well, actually, let me move this out of the way for a moment. What I need to do is just hit the B key so that we have a, actually let's undo that. Okay, that's fine. So now we're going to have this shadow layer, which is going to be just a single frame all the way down to here, and above these guys we are going to have the same situation, just a single layer for the shadow, but of course there's going to be a second drawing when he moves his arm. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply column 4, which is the ninja shadow, times column 3. So in our FX, we are going to layer blending INO is going to be, where's multiply? There it is. Okay. And actually this is incorrect. Column 3 is their ink and paint. Column 4 will be the foreground. And as you can see here, clipping mask is turned on. So that means when we render, you will only see the shadow inside of the ninja's painted area. That way you can't go outside the lines. So we're going to do the same thing over here, column 6 and column 7. So we are going to get it in the right order this time. Layer blending INO, multiply, like so. Okay, so that just assures that everything's going to render properly. Okay, so now this is easier than pi, because all I need to do is go Okay, I think that's going to work. Yeah. So now and I'm going to go ahead and put a definite shadow right there. Okay. And now as you can see, when we hit render, the shadow is clipped to the inside of Mr. Ninja. So this guy's going to be a little, I guess, a little uglier to deal with, but let's just go ahead and draw a circle around him. And then I'm just gonna do it this way. We're gonna keep this really simple and see if it works. I think that's okay. And by the way, obviously this palette should not render. Alright. In fact, we don't need it at all now, since obviously we've done our job. And okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the alpha down here. Because this one I'm going to do with the brush, and I'm going to use this brush. That, my paintbrush, has been a good, sort of a consistent candidate for doing shadows sort of across the board. So, and we'll just paint it in. Little bit of a shadow there. Little bit of a shadow there. A little bit of a shadow there. And again, right, we can't go outside the lines. It's impossible, as you can see, which is great. So, therefore, we can fairly rapidly and aggressively just zip through here and put in our shadows. Okay, one thing I don't want to do is have that shadow cut up onto her nightie. I think probably leave that in shadow. Alright, and then right here, we're going to make a duplicate of it just so we can erase this, which probably the easiest way to do that would be to just hit the S key and hit delete. Yeah, and back to the B key. That's really about all we needed. So, the only thing remaining, therefore, is lip sync. Alright, and this should be pretty easy. It's tempting to voice it and bring it in and actually animate against the lip sync. I haven't been doing that through most of this show. I've been just going in and drawing pictures, and it seems that when I give each syllable about 4 frames, it tends to look right. So let's just go ahead and try that. Alright, so let's make this a little lighter. Okay. I'm going to give that one So I know these lip shapes don't change much. All right, let's just see what happens. It seems like it would be wrong. Sides. Sides. Plus. Oh yeah. Plus who? Okay. Plus who? Plus who would have sent it? Okay, that's close enough for rock and roll, as we like to say. All right, and having done that. Okay. So I believe that I slightly miscalculated. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and leave these two, knock these two frames out, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 96. So that gives us that. Let's take a look. Looks pretty good, although, well, one could certainly argue that all of our, here's what's going on. All of our colors are going to be, need to be toned down, at least on these guys. So we might as well do that here. I think that's probably okay. That's probably okay. I'm just going to knock down the value a little bit. And I guess I should do this the same with her hair. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And so with that, what I do is I hit Control R. It renders the whole scene. And then I can go ahead and save it as an MP4. And one of the definite winky dinkies with OpenToonz lately has been whenever it has to do a file operation, it tends to really have to sit and think about it. I don't know if that's an OpenToonz thing or if that's a, you know, a Dave's computer thing. I just don't know. I'm not going to try and figure it out at this exact moment. So I'm going to go 0118.mp4. And now OpenToonz will know what to do and save that out as an MP4, obviously. And now we can come back here, and we'll go right to here. And that way when we drag the MP4 in, the fully rendered animated version will simply slap in over top of the pencil test version that we had in there previously. So with that, we look back here, and unfortunately OpenToonz is only half done. So I guess what we'll do is, while OpenToonz is sort of thinking about that, I'm going to go on my other screen to where my rendered frames are, so that the instant this is done rendering, I can immediately, racing like the wind, drag it into Blender. And that will be that. So this was a pretty good exercise, because we went from saying, well, I'm not totally thrilled with the way this came out in Blender, so what the heck, let's redo it in OpenToonz. And we did the whole thing from pencil test to ink and paint. Yeah, the whole deal. So this can now be closed. I do really want to quit. Up here, we've got an MP4 just ready and waiting for us. Boom. All right. And we'll just, normally it's good policy after you drag in a new video into the Blender video editor is to just reload the file. It has a few, at least Blender 2.8 has some kind of winky things it does when there's a change. Turns video play. Sorry. If they even are Shinobi. Okay, yeah. So, and that's exactly what I thought. The shot can be ended there. And then we'll put in the next shot after it and keep on rocking forward. So 41 minutes, not too shabby for an entire shot. We've figured out that the average shot is 4 seconds long. 4 seconds fits 15 times into 1 minute, which means 150 times into 10 minutes, 300 times into 20 minutes. So roughly 350 sessions like this one to create an entire show. That's interesting. This took less than an hour, so that means theoretically 350 hours. Yeah, I mean, that's about on track. It's about 60 days to knock out a whole episode. So we're getting there in terms of our pacing and all that sort of stuff. You know, we're definitely getting there. I certainly think over the last few days that in terms of production quality, the look of the show, the characters, you know, everything about the color, everything seems to be improving a little bit, you know. So with that, I will bid you all good day. And remember, as I always like to say, there will be more.